Good morning and welcome to Morning Joe. It is Tuesday, August 18th. Along with Joe, Willie, welcome back, and me, we have White House reporter for the Associated Press, Jonathan Lemire, politics and journalism professor at Morgan State University, politics editor at The Grio, and an MSNBC political contributor, Jason Johnson.
What she was able to do, the former First Lady, is to talk about the character of the country and that we're better than this and that this is not a president who's up to the job that he was elected to do. Closing with that line, it is what it is. Jason Johnson, she also, by wearing that vote necklace, that wasn't the end of her message to people who are registered to vote in this country who did not show up in 2016. She kind of laid out that 3 million vote margin that Donald Trump won the popular election by, those slivers in places like Michigan where 10,000 votes decided the election, and something like 100 million registered voters didn't show up to vote in 2016. Her message was not about policy specifically. It was about telling people, if you don't like what you see right now, get out and do something about it.
Yeah, Willie, when she said that in some areas it broke down to basically 2 votes per precinct, you can tell that the former First Lady had really done her homework. It was an amazing speech, so good. We'll see if Melania tries to lift some of this like she did 4 years ago when she gives her speech next week for the RNC. This is the thing that I thought was most interesting linguistically about what Michelle Obama said last night. There were so many key buzzwords that she used. I had several female friends, especially married friends of mine, text me last night. Michelle Obama kept saying, Donald Trump doesn't listen. He's a man who doesn't listen to you. And all of my married friends were like, oh my gosh, yes, a man who doesn't listen. There were so many different, when she said, I hate politics, there were lots of people who obviously say I hate politics, but I was amazed that for a woman who's been in public life for, the entire career of her husband, Barack Obama, she sounded like regular people who I talked to were like, look, I don't like politics, I don't really care, but these are things that matter. And one thing I also want to say, it was so resonant to me, and Joe, I'm glad that you mentioned this, the 4-year anniversary of Donald Trump saying, what do you have to lose to black people at a church in Detroit is tomorrow. We actually have a special day of coverage at the Grio where we're talking about what have black people lost over the last 4 years. We're talking about health care, economics. We're doing a whole day of coverage on that tomorrow on the Grio. But what she pointed out in saying 150,000 people died, over 32,000 African Americans have died at rates 3 and 4 times white Americans because of the mismanagement of the COVID pandemic. So I thought she hit it out of the park yesterday. She and Bernie Sanders were really the highlights of a night that for a lot of people was kind of boring, but people will watch those 2 clips and those will be the messages the DNC wanted to get across.
That's right.
The future of our democracy is at stake.
Obviously, there's Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden's chief competitor during the 2020 campaign. And, Jason, I've always discounted endorsements. Endorsements don't really matter most of the time. What one politician says about another politician, it just doesn't really push somebody to the polls. I'll make an exception there. When Bernie Sanders reaches across the aisle and says to his fervent supporters, hey, this guy's going to be fighting for us on day one, I think that may actually have an impact in this election.
Well, I got to admit, Joe, and this is one of the myths about Sanders that I think people forget. More Sanders voters in 2016 voted for Hillary Clinton than Hillary Clinton voters voted for Obama in 2008, right? Like, I think there is a tendency to believe that the loudness of some supporters of Bernie Sanders represents the majority of progressives in this country, and it doesn't. Most progressives realize that Donald Trump is a threat. Most progressives are going to end up voting for Joe Biden. I think what was significant about Sanders' speech last night is the way in which he talked about Joe Biden from a policy perspective. He's like, look, we have different ideas on how you get to full coverage, but this guy is going to listen to me. This guy is going to work with me. Joe Biden has done a very good job of integrating Sanders supporters, Sanders advocates, his policy people into his campaign. And I think anybody can be honestly clear in saying Bernie Sanders is way more in for Joe Biden than he was for Hillary Clinton in 2016. And while we're not going to have the huge rallies that we had in the past, that helps for many of his team. That helps for many organizers on the ground feel like, okay, Bernie's okay with this guy, and we can be enthusiastic about it.